Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to Beer Geek Nation. I'm your host, Chris. Thank you for joining me once again for part 3 of the Homebrew project. Kind of finishing it out here. This part is going to be all about kegging the beer and force carbonating the beer. And then the fourth part is going to be actually me sampling the beer. I keg and force carbonate because I bottled for damn near a couple years. And I hated doing it. Every time I had to bottle beer, I just hated it. For about 150 bucks, you can start kegging, and it's so worth the money. It saves you so much time. It's nice just to have draft beer whenever you want it. So that's the reason I keg, and I force carbonate. I don't force carbonate all the time. Basically, what force carbonation is you put your beer into a keg, you get it down to about 35 degrees or so. Hook a CO2 tank up to it, crank it up to about 20 psi, and then you're going to rock it back and forth for, I do, about 4 minutes. The other way to do it, another forced carbonation method, is to get the beer cold, hook the CO2 up to it at about, where you want your serving pressure to be, I don't know, 8 or 9 psi, somewhere in there. And if you let it sit for a week, that beer is going to carbonate. People say it's going to be a lot smoother that way. There aren't quite as many catches to it, but I've force carbonated the quick way, and I've never had a problem with it. There is some overcarbonation things that you have to watch for, but they're real easy to fix. Just a matter of pulling off the CO2 a couple times before you serve it. So with that said, let's get into it. Here's the beer. This is the Simcoe IPA. It's been sitting with dry hops for exactly a week now. Smells real good. Can't wait to get it into a keg and try it. Some of the other things, standard things you're going to need, again, you want your spray bottle of Star San or disinfectant. I like to keep a little, you can use like a Tupperware thing, a Tupperware container or a bowl or whatever of Star San. I'm going to put the keg lid in here while I'm pissing around with moving the beer from here to the keg. Something that it took me a while to figure out that I really like, and I've probably only been using this for 2 or 3 years now, but this is affectionately known as keg lube. And basically what it is, it's a petroleum jelly lubricant made for food safe applications, industrial food processing, all their gears and everything. And basically what you do is you put some on a paper towel and rub it around the rubber edge of the gasket on the seal of the keg. And once you put that lid on, pressurizes and creates a really, really nice seal in there. You're not going to lose any CO2 through leakage or anything like that. So, for $5 or $6 to get a bottle, this thing lasts forever. I mean, literally, it's over 2 years old and it's, not even 95% gone. So, lasts forever. Definitely worth picking up. A lot of people overlook it, but it's one thing that'll save your kegs. It keeps your keg, the gaskets, in real nice condition. So yeah, that's keg lube. And the other thing that I use, and you don't have to use this, there are other ways of doing it, is a auto siphon. And this is it. This is the bigger of the two. I forget the size on this one, but it's the bigger of the two auto siphons. There's a smaller one. I've used the smaller one. I went up to this one. It is so much nicer. It just pulls the beer out of here so quickly. Some good tubing, and I've washed this out because it was sitting out in the garage. But I'm also going to sanitize all this, obviously. I have my keg over here that I just cleaned out. I just pulled out of the fridge, actually. It had a double bock in it. Double bock kicked. So I pulled it out, dumped it out. I've got Star San sitting in it. What I'm going to do is place the auto siphon in there. I'm going to siphon up some Star San back into the keg just to kind of get some Star San running through here. And then we'll go from there. I'm going to see how filming goes. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it yet, but so here we go. Cheers. Okay, so here is the keg with the Star San in it, and as you can see here, I've ran some Star San up through there. I just reset, you just pull it up and push it in. I can't do it with one hand, but there's all Star San sitting in there. I have it sitting in the Star San. I've sprayed it down with Star San. I'm gonna let that sit in there for about a minute. Then I'm gonna dump it out, and we will start to transfer the beer. All right, so the beer is being transferred out of the fermenter. Ooh. It's coming down here and going into the keg, and you can see all that foam in there. That's just Star San foam bubbles. That's fine. Absolutely doesn't hurt the beer at all. Matter of fact, some people actually recommend leaving it in there just to keep everything sanitary and nice and clean. And this will take probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to watch it here as it gets down the bottom so I don't pull up too much of the yeast cake. But yeah, I'll come back in a second. Alright, so the keg is filled. I just put the lid on. One thing I forgot to mention, you want to sanitize the hell out of the lid. Spray the bottom, spray the ridges. After you put the gel, spray it down on as well. The gel's water resistant, so it'll stay on there no matter what, but definitely get that cranked down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my kegerator. I'm going to put a little bit of CO2 on it, and I'm going to bleed it off. And what that's going to do is that's going to get rid of the oxygen out of the keg that's in there, so I don't get any oxidization or everything. Just going to put a nice CO2 blanket on it. Going to put it in the fridge for about 24 hours, and then tomorrow night I'm going to force carbonate. So I'll take you guys over to the kegerator, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so here I am at the kegerator. I've got my CO2 regulator in here. It's a dual gauge CO2 regulator. I've got an Imperial Stout in here as well. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm just going to hook the kegs. I don't know how simple to get here. They have an in and out. Most of the time the kegs are labeled in and out on the plastic. Obviously CO2 is going to go in. Your beer line is going to go on the out. So I'm just going to hook my CO2 up, and it's set at about 5 psi, so that should be good. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the CO2 tank. I'm putting the CO2 into the keg, obviously, so I'm going to bleed it a little. I don't want to do it too loud because I had a baby sleeping and my wife sleeping, so. Smells really hoppy. That should be good. So again, what I did there is just replace the oxygen that was in here with CO2. That way when it does get cold, the beer isn't going to absorb any of that oxygen, so you're not going to get oxidizing off flavors on it. You're also putting a blanket of CO2 on there, so it's going to start to absorb that as well. As it gets colder, it won't absorb too much because it's only set to 5 psi right now. I have a separate CO2 tank out in the garage that I actually force carbonate with. It's a big one, it doesn't fit in here. But that's one thing forced carbonation does. It's going to use more CO2. It does use a pretty good amount of CO2, but a 15-pound CO2 tank will probably last you, oh, I don't know, 15 to 20 kegs, I'm guessing. Somewhere in there. I've had that one forever now. I probably have done 10 kegs with it so far. So with that said, I think I'm going to end the video here. I might pull some beer just to see what it smells like. It's not going to be cold, it's not going to be carbonated, but kind of get a rough idea. But I'm not going to ruin the surprise until the 4th video. So until you see the cut here and tomorrow night when I actually force carbonate, I'll show you that. But until, guys, cheers. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the final part of the forced carbonation / kegging video. It's been 24 hours since the end of the first part of this video. Beer is right around 35 degrees. That's what I keep my kegerator out. So it's all chilled and ready to go. The reason you want to chill beer before you do this is the CO2 goes into solution a lot easier, and you actually get a lot less head in there. So the CO2 is able to be picked up a lot easier. Use less CO2, it goes in a lot faster. You're gonna get carbonated beer a lot faster. Just take that extra 12 to 24 hours, chill the beer before you do this. You're already rushing through it as it is. And this is a very quick and dirty way to carbonate beer. And I usually don't do it this way, but I kind of need this beer by like 4 days from now. So I want to get it carbonated. I figured I might as well show you guys this way, and I'll show you the other way at some point. But what we're gonna do here is I have the beer hooked up to my CO2 tank. I have it running at around 28 psi or so. I'm gonna roll this on the floor. I'm gonna put it flat long ways so there's more surface for the CO2 to get taken up into, I guess is what the right word. I'm gonna roll it back and forth pretty gently for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. And that's it. And once I get that done, I'll give you some warnings and precautions and things I've learned not to do once it's carbonated by forced carbonation for about 12 hours or so. So let me show you guys the setup and we will get rolling the keg. Alright guys, so here is the beer, obviously. CO2 going in, 15 pounds CO2 tank. This is what I use primarily for carbonating my beers. And you can see it's a dual regulator, but you can see, I hope you can see right there, it's at about 26, 27 psi, somewhere in there. And this one's banged up a little bit, so kind of ignore that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on its side. Okay. And then I'm going to do, let me start my timer here just to be real. Alright, so I have it set for 2 minutes. As you can see, I'm going to hit start. I'm just going to roll back and forth. And actually, there's not a whole lot of, usually you hear CO2 streaming in like crazy, but I'm not getting that, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Okay, there you can kind of hear it. Hear that gurgling? That's what you want to hear. That's the CO2 going into solution. Hear that? Okay, I'm going to stop it here and then I'll pick it up when I stop. Alright, so the 2 minutes are up. I actually did it for about 3.5 there because it was kind of shoddy at first because I was trying to hold the camera and do it. But you do have to do it pretty aggressively, but just do it how I was doing. Just rock it back and forth real quick. Do it until you start to hear the CO2 start kind of bubbling in there. It can be real aggressive and then it'll kind of slow down. Once it starts to slow down, it's going to get pretty full. And I've noticed that around the 2 to 3 minute mark, it's gonna just start to like bubble here and there, and that's when you know you're pretty much at capacity and you don't want to do too much more. Some people do it for 10 minutes. I've done it for that long before, and the beer is just way over carbonated for my taste. It takes forever to kind of get it back down to normal, so I started at 2. Sometimes I do 4, 5, depending on the beer style. This is an IPA, so I didn't want it too aggressive. What do you do with it from here? Well, once you unhook the CO2, which I'm going to do here momentarily, do not pull the CO2, the valve on this thing. Beer is going to go everywhere. This is a mess inside right now. It's just a gigantic shaken up beer can. Alright, so once in the morning, it's about 12:30 here now. I'm going to put this in. Tomorrow morning when I get up, I'm going to pull the pressure pin, let some of that pressure out of there. Still, it's going to be unhooked to any hoses in the kegerator. It's not going to be hooked up to the CO2. It's not going to be hooked to the beer lines or anything. If you do that, if you hook it up, the CO2 on the beer line, right now as it were, the beer is going to blow back into your CO2 line. It's going to blow back into your beer line. It's going to get into your regulator. It's just going to cause a mess. Trust me, I've done it. I've gone through 2 regulators. Because of that, I've done it a few times. I just don't do it often enough and I forget and I do it. I'm telling you now, don't do it. Wait about 12 hours, pull off some of the pressure from the pin up here. Wait another 6 or 7 or 12 or whatever, pull off some more pressure. After about 24 hours, if you stop seeing beer coming out of the pressure spigot nozzle thing up here, whatever you want to call it, when you flush pull it, you're going to see beer come out of there. There's so much pressure in there. Once you stop seeing beer come out of there and you just get, CO2 rush coming out of there, CO2 air coming out of there, then you can hook the lines back up. Put it to your serving pressure. Put 9, 10 psi, whatever you want. Hook up the CO2. Let it sit for another 24 hours on that pressure, and then hook up the beer line. At that point, it's still going to be very carbonated, so you're just going to want to keep pulling the pin, unhooking the CO2 if you need to, pulling the pressure pin, letting more CO2 out of solution if it's still if it's still too overcarbonated for you. Just do that until you get the carbonation to where you want to. Basically, you're starting really high, and in order to get low, you just vent the CO2 without having CO2 hooked up to it. Once you get it to where you want to, you think the CO2 is good shape, the beer looks perfectly carbonated to the way you want it, hook your CO2 line back up then and start serving a beer, and you're going to be good to go. So the next part of this video is going to be the actual serving of this beer. I'll do a brief review of it, and hopefully everything came out okay. So with that said, guys, cheers.